Hubble Space Telescope. Since the beginning of humanity and for decades past, humans have relied on the naked eye in their exploration of the universe around them until Galileo directed his telescope towards the sky in 1610, and with the passage of time, telescope devices developed in all their intricate details until the world witnessed the launch of the Hubble telescope in April of the year 1990 was considered the most important progress in astronomy since the Galileo telescope. In addition to that, it was the first optical observing telescope of this large size to be launched into space, and within 25 years of its operation and nearly 5 tasks it carried out was able to change the human race's view of the universe through its use to observe planets and galaxies. It is worth noting that the Hubble telescope was named after Edwin Hubble, who used the largest telescope of his time in the 20s of the last century. 1. The architecture and design of the Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble telescope takes a cylindrical shape and is large in size and surrounded by long, rectangular solar panels. It is about 13 meters long and 4.2 meters in diameter and has several devices and equipment that analyze the light that has been collected from the mirror in the telescope. 2.4 meters, and the other is secondary, which is a smaller convex mirror with a diameter of 0.3 meters, and the function of these mirrors is to repel unwanted light, and the path of light through the telescope takes a Z-shape in the English language, and its path starts from the source directly until it reaches the primary mirror, and derives its electrical energy from through solar panels, which has a production capacity of about 2,400 watts of electricity, and the batteries work to supply it with the necessary energy when it is stationed in the shadow of the planet, where Hubble revolves around the Earth for a period of 97 minutes and spends 25 minutes of that time in its shadow and the rest of it in direct sunlight, which makes it exposed to various temperatures an average of 15 times a day, which requires taking measures to protect the telescope and preserve its equipment, and for this reason, when designing the Hubble telescope, all aspects that it may be exposed to in space were taken into account, and among these aspects is its ability to withstand very high temperatures too. The principle of operation of the Hubble Space Telescope. The monitoring process in the Hubble telescope is far from simple procedures, where the operator gives commands to the telescope, including determining the observation point and several instructions to avoid the noise of the rays coming from the Sun and the Moon, the time period to monitor the observed target, the form and format of the data to be used to send the result, and adjust the radio transmitting and receiving antennas. All this process and commands should be carried out through computer codes that are sent to the radio receiving antennas, with guide stars contributing. It is a term given to the features of the bright stars that can be found easily near the required observation points, in facilitating the monitoring process. On his site, 2. Discoveries of the Hubble Space Telescope. The importance of the Hubble telescope stems from its ability to monitor distant objects in outer space that were impossible to monitor with the ground-based telescopes, and this advantage is due to the fact that when scientists directed the Hubble telescope to an empty area in space in 1995 AD, then an image of more than 3,000 distant galaxies was captured. Some of its stars were not fully formed, and that region was called the Great Hubble Field at a later time. At that time, and the Hubble telescope's function is not limited to observing only, as it helped astronomers determine the time period for the age of the universe, which was estimated at about 10 to 20 billion years to become the estimate the new 13.7 billion years ago, and in 2013 the Hubble telescope discovered a new moon around Neptune and was able to generate new details about the history of the Milky Way galaxy through the stages of the evolution of 400 galaxies observed. During the following year, sent pictures of a field called the Hubble field contributed to the ultra-depth knowledge of the evolution of the universe, and can the latest discoveries of the Hubble Space Telescope summarized in several points. 3 high-quality images of the Andromeda Galaxy were captured in 2015, and in the same year a dark vortex was spotted on the planet Neptune. In 2016 the most distant galaxy known at that time was observed, and this discovery showed that the universe contains 10 times the number of galaxies that were thought to exist. A stratosphere was found within the mantle of a planet outside the Solar System in 2017, and in the same year many asteroids were accidentally discovered. What distinguished the Hubble Space Telescope from others? The Hubble Space Telescope is the first of the 4 observatories planned by the U.S. Aeronautics and Space Agency, and the urgent need to manufacture a space telescope came due to the limited capabilities of the ground telescopes, and this is due to the atmosphere, which acts as a barrier that impedes the monitoring process, and the manufacture and design of a space telescope such as Hubble is considered a huge project that takes many for years, but when designing the Hubble telescope, the telescope's engineers were able to easily place a function of replacing and adding equipment and tools to it, which enables astronauts to maintain it periodically during its estimated life of 15 years, and its outer shell features handles that enable astronauts thanks to its delivery of the Hubble telescope into outer space to the Discovery shuttle, which placed it on an orbit that rises from the surface of the Earth at an altitude of about 612 kilometers, and scientists were unable to take advantage of Hubble's capabilities for 3 consecutive years at the beginning of its rotation due to a defect in main mirror design.